The Giants stand pat at the NFL trade deadline. What's next for them? That plus Joe Judge addresses headset gate coming up on today's LockedOn Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name's Patricia Traina, and it is Wednesday, November 3rd, and it is the day after the trade deadline. The Giants stand pat and don't make any moves. So we're going to talk a little bit about that on today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about headset gate, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Giants. I have some thoughts about how things are going and some stuff I really need to get off my chest. And before I go ahead and get into all that, first, let me thank you for making the Locked On Giants podcast your first listen of the day. Really appreciate that. And also want to remind you that we are going to be doing our Twitter mailbag for Friday. So we're doing a show today. Obviously, tomorrow we're going to have the crossover show. Your boy Q, the host of Locked On Raiders, is going to join me. And then Friday, we will do the mailbag. So for those of you, by the way, who are posting comments to me on YouTube, if you could just shoot me an email with your comments, this way they don't get lost and I don't forget about them. So that would just make it easier. And again, the address is in the show notes. If you wouldn't mind doing that for me, that would be great. So, all right, let's talk about the Giants standing pat at the trade deadline. Now, the obvious candidate to be traded was tight end Evan Engram. And, basically just backing up a little bit, the Giants had several candidates. I think if we were looking at trade candidates at the start of the year, we probably would have said Jabril Peppers, Evan Engram. We might have said, I know James Bradbury's name came up, although I never thought that would be a possibility. And then a few people thought maybe, Will Hernandez or Lorenzo Carter might be on the move since they were in the final year of their respective contracts. And nobody was moved. Now, here's what I do know regarding what happened with the Giants. My understanding is the Giants did get some inquiries about Evan Engram. I believe the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers were the two of the teams that made an inquiry about Evan Engram. Now, obviously, the price wasn't right for the Giants to move off of it, which I found that kind of interesting. I get it if to an extent that, okay, the Giants don't want to give the guy away, but here's the thing with Evan Engram and why I think it was a mistake not to move him if there was a decent enough offer on the table. And by the way, I think what the Giants were looking for was a high day 3 pick as opposed to a low day 3 pick, which is, I think, about what they were getting. I think one of the offers had to do with a conditional pick, depending on, how he did. But here's the thing with Evan Engram. Still a young player and a player who I think can still be functional in the right offense. But as far as the Giants are concerned, all right, this is a guy who in the option year of his rookie deal, and I'm just going to double check that here, he is currently making a cap figure of $6.013 million. Had the Giants traded him, they would have recapped about $3.3 million on the salary cap for this year. Money, which, by the way, if they didn't spend, they would have been able to roll over into next year, where they're going to probably need to do a lot of cutting, which I'll get to in just a moment. But see, here's the thing now. Evan Engram, if the Giants, as was reported, as was rumored, if they were looking for a 4th-round pick for Evan Engram, and they're thinking, okay, well, maybe a comp pick that will bring that. I'm not so sure they're going to get a high comp pick for him, because here's the thing. If I'm an NFL team and I'm looking to get Evan Engram to join, I don't think I give him a blockbuster contract like, say, Landon Collins got when he left the Giants. I think I go a little bit more conservatively with Evan Engram, given his injury history. All right. I give him maybe, I don't know, maybe a modest 2-year deal. And I just think that maybe if a team does that, the comp pick, which by the way, won't do the Giants any good in 2022, they'll have to wait for 2023 for that. The comp pick won't be that high anyway. I mean, it'll probably be, I don't know, somewhere in the 4th round range, 5th round range, which is about, I think, what the Giants might be looking for, might have been looking for to get him. But look, for a team that's going to probably have to do a bunch of cuts next year because of the salary cap, and who could use all the draft assets they can get to rebuild this team, I just disagree with not moving this guy. But here's the other thing: if you're looking at it from Joe Judge's perspective and the coaching perspective, right now they are banged up badly at receiver. I mean, badly. So guess what that means? They're going to have to get the tight ends involved. And while you can say, okay, well, you know what? Kyle Rudolph could probably utilize in that role. You could probably utilize Caden Smith, bring up a guy from the practice squad. None of them are quite as athletic as Evan Engram can be. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with him. And Joe Judge has said in the past that he absolutely loves Engram for his work ethic, for what he brings to the table. But yet they haven't been able to get the most out of him. And to me, look, next year, their salary cap situation, barring a miracle or something unexpected happening, they're not going to have a lot of cap space to sign guys. All right. Will they have enough space to sign Evan Engram? Probably if they offer him a modest deal. But will Evan Engram want to come back here? My guess is I'd be surprised if he did. All right. I think after this year, the two sides mutually part ways. All right. So that being said, since the Giants didn't clear out any cap money, let's look ahead real quick to next year. Now, the total estimated cap for next year is going to be, I believe, $208.2 million. That is an estimated amount by Over the Cap. The Giants right now, again, according to Over the Cap, have $207.7 million committed in contracts next year. So you don't, do the math, you'll see they don't have a lot of room. So how are they going to come up with some salary cap space? Because, even their top 51, all right, their top 51, they'll have 207.7 million, which is about the same as they have for cap liabilities. So that leaves them with 2.729 estimated cap space. So how are they going to create some room? Well, let's take a look. Their highest cap figures, and you always start with like the top 10 guys who are the highest cap figures and who don't have guaranteed money. James Bradbury is going to have a 21.86 million cap number. I can pretty much guarantee you that number is not going to stay on their books. It's either going to be cut down or cut out. All right. If they cut them out, they're looking at a 12.1 million cap saving with a 9.72 dead money hit if they move on from Bradbury. Saquon Barkley is number 2. I'm sorry, no, number 2 is Leonard Williams. Actually, I'm sorry. Leonard Williams is the top highest cap hit on the Giants. Bradbury's number 2. So Leonard Williams has a 27.3 million cap hit. And let me just see real quick. He's got guaranteed money next year. So he's got 100% of his contract is guaranteed, 19 million base salary. He's not going anywhere. So we can forget about doing anything there unless they restructure him, which, they have the room to do that if they wanted to, since Williams's contract runs through 2023 and there's no guaranteed money. But I wouldn't do that. You're just robbing Peter to pay Paul at that point. So I think Leonard Williams stays the same. After Leonard Williams, let's see who's the next highest hit. Blake Martinez and Adoree Jackson and Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard's contract, I think, gets lopped off. Shepard is due $12.495 million against the cap. He will save the team $4.5 million if he is cut, with a $7.99 million dead money hit, which if they spread out, by the way, to a post-June transaction, then I think the number changes. It changes to, let me see what it changes to. Post June, it would change to 8.5 million savings and 3.995 million dead money in 2022, and the balance of that in 2023. So I think Shepard's contract is coming off the books either way. Kyle Rudolph's contract, I could see maybe coming off the books next year too. He counts for 7.25 million. So I think he will be off the books next year. I mean, if I'm the Giants, I make getting a new tight end a top priority in the draft. Kenny Golladay, he's not going anywhere because he's got some guaranteed money. I'm just looking, let's see, Logan Ryan, let me see if he's got guaranteed money next year. Logan Ryan does have guaranteed money, so they'll probably not do much with him. The Giants are going to have to do a lot. I mean, they just don't have a lot of money to work with. And don't worry if you're not following along here. I am going to do an article on all this, and I'll put this up on Giant Country. Probably during the bye week, I'll do something on this, but just an absolute mess for the Giants with their salary cap for next year. And, not a whole lot of money to transfer over, and 10 draft picks. Okay, you can get those guys on a rookie deal, but yeah, this is going to be tricky. And if that cap number doesn't go as high as over the cap is projecting, which I don't think it will, they're going to be in trouble next year for sure, because the TV money isn't kicking in until the following year. And that's when you'll see the cap really explode. So again, I'll do an article on all this for Giants Country. I'm just kind of spitballing out loud here, since the Giants didn't do anything with the trade, which again, I disagree with, especially considering that they lost. I thought for sure they would do something, but Joe Judge, confident that he can get them out of this mess. I hope he's right, because I don't know about you, but this losing is getting old and tiresome. So we'll see. All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Headset Gate. So stick around. Hey, Giant fans, if you do a lot of driving like I do, then you need to know about a fantastic new app called Get Upside. When you open an account on Get Upside, you can get 25 cents per gallon back every time you fill up at the pump. Get Upside makes it easy to save on your gasoline, and they give you multiple cash out options, such as direct payment to your bank account, PayPal, Amazon gift cards, and more anytime you want to cash out. Open an account today and use our special promo code Touchdown to get a bonus 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. Download the free Get Upside app, use our special promo code Touchdown, and when you sign up for your account, you can start saving every time your car or truck needs a fill up. Again, that's the Get Upside app, available in the iTunes App Store or on Google Play. And that promo code, again, is Touchdown. All right, Giant fans, you've got Patricia Traina here on a LockedOn Giants podcast. And today we're just talking about post-draft. We're talking about Headset Gate. We're talking about the Giants, kind of like a grab bag of things. Just some thoughts that have popped up, feedback that I've gotten from you guys, from the comments section, from the letters and stuff. And again, Twitter Tuesday is normally today, but or actually it would have been yesterday. We're going to move it to Friday. So you've got plenty of time to get your questions into me. The email address is lockedongiantspodcast@gmail.com, or tweet them to me. My Twitter handle is below. Make sure you tag them Ask P Train so that I can find them when I go looking to do the mailbag. So, all right, let's talk about Headset Gate, because this one just absolutely kind of knocked me off my socks a little bit. All right. Joe Judge, let me preface this by saying, I think Joe Judge is as honest as he can be under the circumstances. Now, does he tell you everything? Does he answer all the questions directly? No. Does he always paint a rosy picture, even when things aren't rosy? Yes. Is it annoying? Sometimes, yes. So when the topic came up about why he wasted timeouts in the game against Kansas City, and he brought up the fact that the headset has been a problem, not just in that game, but apparently all season long, regardless of whether it was home or away. First thing I thought was, how could that have been and that not have gotten out? Because if there was an issue, that would have gotten out eventually. All right. And one of the national guys or gals would have had it. But more importantly, I just found it odd because, the Giants really have been the only ones complaining about it that I know of, which made me wonder about a couple of things. Now, I'd like to think that they know the rules. And for those of you who are not familiar, when you have the headset, your communication is cut off 15 seconds prior to the play clock hitting 0. All right. So I wonder if perhaps, and I'm spitballing here because I don't know. And Joe Judge, when we asked him about it during his Tuesday press conference, he pretty much put the kibosh on those questions and said, look, I said what I said, and that's it. And, we'll talk to the league and we'll get this resolved. But what I wondered is, he also made a comment about how they were trying to get guys set up, get the best plays out there. Were they maybe taking too long to get the plays out there to where maybe they were running out of time and the communication was being shut off? I don't know the answer to that. Only Joe and his coaches would know the answer. But again, I'm just wondering, was it a case where, now it doesn't sound like it happened, frequently throughout the games. It sounded more like a sporadic thing. So I think, like sometimes when I'm on the internet at home, my internet will temporarily pause for whatever reasons. Maybe there's a blip in the communication signal. And, sometimes I notice it, a lot of times I don't. Maybe something like that happened. I don't know. I just found it odd because, the other thing I found odd is even if your communication did go down for whatever the reason, why not use hand signals? And Joe mentioned that. He said, look, we'll use hand signals or whatever we have to use. But I was just surprised. I mean, if you've got a backup system in place, okay, yeah, you're inconvenienced. I get it. But if you've got a backup system in place and you can still get the word out to your players, what's the big deal? Right. And I used this example when I wrote about this at Giants Country. I am dependent on my laptop to write my stories, to do my podcast, to do everything I need to. If, however, I can't get an internet connection, which has happened to me many times, more times than I care to remember, I have my cell phone. Okay. I use my cellular service to type and file stories, right? Not ideal, given how tiny my keyboard is. I have used my camera to shoot video, which again, not ideal. I prefer to use my bigger camera that I use for all my podcasts. My point is, though, is I have a backup in place if my main source of communication and allowing me to do what I need to do goes down. So, am I going to complain about it? I might express some frustration. Yeah, maybe to my husband. I might put something out on Twitter, although sometimes, I just don't bother. I just kind of go the way I go on and do my merry way. But the point is if you have a backup, yeah, you're inconvenienced, but you can still get done what you need to get done. So I just found that to be a little strange. And I got to wondering, and I don't know if this has anything to do with it. It probably doesn't, but I'll put it out there for what it's worth. The defense never had problems getting lined up with Blake Martinez in there. Is it now a problem because he's not in there? I don't know. Possibly. Something to consider. Is it because they're waiting too long to get the plays in? Certainly something to consider, which, by the way, if they're doing that, shame on them, because they're letting the other team dictate to them what they do instead of the other way around. I mean, just the whole thing, and the fact that it's gone on now for 8 games, according to Joe, and so nothing's been done about it. And that he's, supposedly said something to the league, and the league, by the way, turned around and said that, hey, this is the first we're hearing of it. The Giants haven't said anything. I mean, something's not adding up here. And I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to call one side a liar and the other side, absolve them of anything, but just a weird story. And I do know that sometimes the communication lines go down, but here's the other thing. If the communication lines do go down, the other team has to shut down by league rule. So if the Giants lose their communication to the press box, the other team has to lose their communication. They have to turn it off because then it gives the other team an unfair competitive advantage. So again, I don't understand, what happened here, what the issue is here. This is a mystery. And it's just, to me, the timing of it. And I appreciate that Joe, put that out there, but it's not a very good look. It makes him kind of come across as a complainer. And the fact that he had an opportunity, he was given an opportunity to clarify stuff, what he meant by that. And he basically just shut it down and said, look, I said what I said. And then he said, I'm not one to make excuses, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it is what it is. And I hope he gets his answers because, and I hope, there's something to be learned here, because if you haven't learned after 8 times of having this happen to have a backup system in place to use, then I don't know what to tell you. So, all right, Giant fans, stick around. We got more coming up right after this. All right, Giant fans, we have more coming up in just a moment, but let me tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline is back better than ever before, offering a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to their updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use our promo code LOCKEDON. From basketball, football, baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers BetOnline has to offer. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey, Giant fans, have you checked out BuiltBar.com yet? Available in 9 amazing flavors plus a rotating selection of limited time offerings in nut and nut-free varieties. Built Bar is the perfect choice for a low-carb, low-sugar, and high-protein treat that will satisfy your sweet tooth. Visit BuiltBar.com and get 15% off of your first order with the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 at BuiltBar.com for 15% off your first order. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the LockedOn Giants podcast. I'm Patricia Traina, and we're doing kind of a grab bag today, just me getting some things off my chest. It's therapeutic for me. I hope it's therapeutic for you. Appreciate you listening and tuning in. And, look, I want to go back to the Monday night game, which I thought the defense played well enough to win. I mean, a couple mistakes here and there, I get it, but they played well enough to win. But, here's the thing that bothers me and continues to bother me about this team. And I talked about this a little bit with David Turner on the show Tuesday. Where is the discipline? All right. I looked at the penalties and I started to do a breakdown. 5 of the 10 penalties, you can make a case, were discipline related. Taunting, for example, there were 2 taunting penalties. There was an unnecessary roughness penalty. A false start. I think Will Hernandez has had multiple false starts this year. I don't know how many. I'd have to go back and look it up, but I know there have been multiple ones. Just stupid stuff that require discipline, that require attention to detail. All right. The face mask, I thought that was a ticky-tack type of call. I didn't think that was a legitimate face mask call, but my opinion doesn't matter, obviously. Shane Simmons jumping offside on the hard count. I'm sorry. I know David Turner had no problem with it. I do. Because, you've got to know that they're going to try and lure you offside with hard count, and you got to be disciplined. So, but here's the big point, the overall point I want to make about this. Where is the discipline? This is a team that Joe Judge preaches about discipline, attention to the fundamentals, attention to detail. Now, I don't know what's going on in practice. As I have said many, many times, during the summer, the media is allowed to watch the entire practices at training camp. During the season, we are not. We only see maybe like the first 20 minutes. So I wonder, are they sending guys on penalty laps if they commit penalties? Are they, stopping practices and restarting them? My guess is no. There's just not enough time to do it, would be my guess. If you look at the practice schedule and you say, okay, they have to allow X number of minutes for stretch and X number of minutes for warm-ups and cool downs and fundamentals, when do they work on the actual, installs for the game plan? So I just wonder if they abandon that. So my question then becomes is, how is Judge dealing with these problems? Okay, you give a guy an earful, or you sit him down for a series or two, like if it's an Eli Penny, for example. But at the end of the day, your roster is what it is. And you're going to go back to these guys at some point. So, okay, they get an earful. All right, fine. Okay, coach, I got it. I hear you. They go right back out there, and there's really, I guess, I don't want to say no accountability, because obviously the coach is chewing them out, but it's not, it's like if somebody yells at me, I might get, upset a little bit, but then the next day it's like, okay, well, I'm still here. I'm still doing what I need to do. It is what it is, So I just wonder about that. What exactly are they doing to correct that? Because it's becoming a problem. And, Judge spoke about the type of team he wants. And it was interesting on Tuesday, he was asked about, is he making progress? Did he feel he was making progress towards building the type of team that the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area could be proud of? And he said that he felt that they were on the right track, but that it takes time. Okay, I get it. Every team is different. But these are the same problems popping up week after week after week. No discipline or lack of discipline. All right. Mistakes are being made. I get it that it takes time, but how much time are we talking here? This all should have been worked out, you would have thought, in the summertime. And it wasn't. It is carried over into the regular season, and it has become a problem. And, I've said this before, and it's a question you can bet. If I get called on at the end of the year when Joe Judge's year-end presser comes up and these questions become applicable, one of the questions I've got for him is, do you have any regrets on how you prepared the team back in the summer? Because I keep going back to that, and I keep believing that this team was not prepared for the start of the season. And they just started off behind the eight ball, and they're trying to catch up. And my biggest fear is they're going to start to play well when it is too late, when they are mathematically or on the verge of mathematically being eliminated. That's when they're going to get caught up. And boy, wouldn't that just absolutely suck. So that said, where did the Giants go from here? Well, next week, when we have the bye, I'm going to break stuff down for you. We'll talk about what they've done well, what they haven't done well. We'll look at some of the positions, some of the changes that they have to do. So that's still to come next week when we get to the bye week. We still have to get through the rest of this week. We still have to get through a game on Sunday and hope for the best. And hope that the Giants do give whatever fans show up on Sunday something to cheer about. And people like me, something positive to write about, because contrary to popular belief, I hate covering losing. I've been doing it for so long, and it is not fun. It is difficult to do, and it just takes the life out of you. So, but I do it for you guys. I do it for you guys. I enjoy, the podcast. I enjoy writing. I just wish I had something more upbeat to talk about with you guys and gals. So anyhow, that's going to do it for me for today. As always, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you catch me tomorrow. Your boy Q, host of the Locked On Raiders podcast, will join me for the crossover show. And we will, of course, have all the latest news on the injury statuses of Sterling Shepard and Dante Pettis, and we'll find out if anything's going on with Kadarius Toney and that thumb, as well as the other guys who are still on the injured list who are looking to come off of that. So all that and more coming up on Thursday. And then, of course, on Friday, we will do our mailbag. So get your questions into me, and I look forward to hearing them. All right. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, or if you're watching on YouTube, your first watch of the day. Have a great one, everybody, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.